get into the next step, we now need to understand what a state machine is. So let's take a look at what that is. A state machine is just a system that says your player is always in one state at a time. Idle is one state and move is another state. And a transition is just a rule that decides when to switch. So instead of one giant script full of if statements, each state owns its own behavior. To make this work, we need a brain. The brain does two jobs. It runs the current state every frame, and it switches states when we tell it to. Now let's code that brain. Here's our state machine script. It stores the current state, it has a function called change state, and every physics frame, it calls a physics update on the current state. That's literally the core. Now in Godot, add a child under your player called StateMachine, attach this script. Nothing will happen yet because we don't have any states. So next, we need to define what a state will look like. Every state should follow the same contract. When we enter a state, we might reset the variables. While we're in a state, we run the state logic. When we exit, we might want to clean some things up. So every state will get enter, exit, and physics update. This is base state. It doesn't do anything by itself. It just defines the functions that every state will have. Create base State.gd in your project. Now we can create our first real state, idle. Idle state is simple. While we're idle, we check for movement input, and if input exists, we transition to move. Here's the code. Read input. If the input magnitude is greater than 0, tell the state machine to switch to move. In Godot, create idle state and attach the script. And we pass the references it needs, the player, and the state machine. Now let's look at the move state. Move state does two things. One, it applies movement while there's input. And two, if input stops, well, we want to go back to idle. This is move state. If there's no input, switch back to idle. If there is input, call the player's movement function. Now, this is an important rule. The player owns the movement math. The state decides when it's allowed. Now hit play, and you should see the state switching live. Idle, move, idle. And that's a working state machine foundation. Now you understand what a state machine is, and you have a working brain in Godot 4.6. This is the exact foundation that you build a Souls-like controller on. And that's it. You now have a working state machine in Godot 4.6, a brain that tracks states, a contract that every state follows, the two real states wired up, and switching live. This is the exact foundation you build a Souls-like controller on. But obviously, a Souls-like character has way more than just idle and move. You've got rolling, attack, hit reactions, maybe die states. And each of those states has a lot more logic than what we covered. Animation handling, timers, combo windows, stamina checks, and more complicated math that makes things feel smoother. There's also things like input controllers. Instead of repeating input.getVector and input is action pressed, in every single state, you create one input controller that reads all the inputs, and every state just reads from that. Cleaner code, easier to debug, and it makes things like input buffering way simpler. All right, now back in Godot, we want to start creating our state and state machine in Godot as a script. So to do this, I'm going to create a new script inside of my player folder, and I'll just call this state. Now, to start, we need to actually define this as its own class name by doing class name state. And if I hit save, we now have this as a class. Now, what does that mean? Now, I'm going to go over here into extends character body, and I don't want you to do anything. I just want to show you that I should now be able to extend state. Now, obviously we'll get a bunch of errors and that makes sense, but I do just want you to understand that now we have our own class name. That means we can now extend from this script. So what do we want as a base thing inside of this script? Well, first of all, we would probably want our state machine to be accessible from here. And we can have this as a node for now. Next, we'll do our player. This is kind of it's referencing the actual player, right? Because sometimes we might want to actually adjust the player's speed, whatever. And we'll do that by setting it to character body 3D. And that's it. Next, we want our functions. One function that we'll have is enter. And this is going to just pass for now. Now, the enter function will actually have it return void as well, just so we can define that and make sure that it doesn't return anything else. I'm just going to duplicate this a couple times. When I say couple, I mean 3, and I'm going to change the names. So enter, I'm going to say exit. Over here, we're going to update. So what this is just literally an update value, which is going to happen every delta. This is also going to be returning void. The last one is physics update. All right, and that's it. We're basically creating these functions that will allow us to be used in every single state that we create. So idle state, walk state, etc. All right. So now we have the foundation of our state set up. The next thing we want to do is set up our state machine itself. And we'll do this again by creating our own new script here and call this state machine. I'm going to actually do an underscore machine like that. That way we have a state machine. Okay, now in here, we're going to do a very similar thing. We already extend node, but we're going to create a class name StateMachine. All right, now what do we need in here? This is, remember, this is the manager of all the states. So ideally, we have the initial state. So what we can do here is export variable initial state. And the cool part is we can define this as a state, the class that we just made, meaning any state that has this script that extends this, we can now put it into this variable. Anything else won't go into this. Okay. Now, here's 3 other variables that we're going to need. The current state, a dictionary of all the states that exist, and again, the player. It's going to be good to be able to access the player from the state machine as well. Now, from here, we need to have a ready function where we're going to do a few things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to await process frame. Now, this is kind of an odd or awkward moment or awkward line of code, but the reason we add this, a lot of the time, the idea is we're doing something inside of this state, or this function, like the ready function, that is happening, or we want it to happen one frame basically right after the other states happen. So sometimes if we have our state or idle state doing something in the process frames, it can kind of cause errors in the ready function here because it's not set up yet. So that's kind of the idea. Now, if you don't get it, it's totally fine. The idea here is basically we're kind of pausing this function for a quick second before actually going through with the rest. All right, the next part is to actually access our player. Now, there's a lot of ways we can do this. We can, of course, export it as well, but here we can just say player is equal to get parent as character body 3D. Now, what does this mean? This means that our state machine has to now be a child of the player directly. So if I add state machine as a node, it'll actually show up, and we can do that. We can hit create, and there it is. Now, there is a short distinction I want to just throw out, which is if I create a node and I set the state machine script to that node and I renamed it to state machine, that's basically the same thing. So if you see this script that's grayed out, that means it's a custom script. I mean, it says it's a custom script that's built in, and we can't really change it. It's just meant for that as well, specifically. But it's basically the same thing. Okay, so here, back in our script, we also now want to check to see if player is valid or not. This is basically just a safety precaution. And if not player, we're going to push error and say state machine must be a child of character body. And that is because I have a space right there. That's why I have that error. All right, but that's it. Next, we want to actually get all our children for the states. We want to allocate all the states that we have in our states dictionary. So to do that, we'll create a for loop child in get children. Now the children are going to be the states. Now at the moment we have 0, so this will actually not do anything, but we're going to set it up so that once we start adding children, it'll work properly. If the child is a state, meaning it's an actual state that we want, like an idle state or whatever, then what we'll do as a cautionary tale, we're going to make sure that it's lowercase. We're going to take everything to lowercase and make sure that we're checking this way, because sometimes I will make a mistake of adding a node and I'll be like idle state, something like that, where there's a bunch of capital cases and things are not consistent. This will basically just defer that and make sure that the code is basically overriding my faults. So next, we'll set the state's key to equal to child. We're going to see if the key ends with state. If it does, we're going to replace the key with the child. Lastly, we're going to actually set the state child or the state machine and the player in here. So now that we're adding the states into our state machines, we're going to make sure that each of these states now know what a player and a state machine is. So the state machine is just self because this is its own script. And then player, we can equal the player because we have the player over here. It's the same name, so it can be a little confusing, but this child.player is referring to this child.player. All right, once we've done that, we now want to set the initial state because this is still in the ready function. So we need to do something with the initial state. We'll do that by asking if the initial state is valid, like if it exists, then we'll enter that state. We'll do that by saying .enter, and we'll also say current state is equal to initial state. Now, if the states.size is bigger than 0, we'll also want to set the current state equal to the state's value at 0. This is basically like if initial state is not valid, right? So if we don't set an initial state, it'll set it to the first state that exists that we created, which obviously we can make it anything we want, but ideally we set it to idle. All right, the next part is to actually make these work, the update and the physics update. And we will do that inside the state machine. And we can do that very easily by saying function process delta float. This is a built-in function. In fact, if you actually type it in, you will see that it tries to complete it for you. And this physics process is a different one that we're also going to do in a second. But this current state is going to be updating using the delta with that exact value. So you can see that we're passing through delta to be this delta, right? So now we have this process working for the update. Now for the physics process, we're going to do the exact same thing. In fact, I want you to pause the video and give it a try yourself. We basically want in the state, this function to start working. And we do that by saying if current state, same thing, and current state.physics update delta. All right. Now the last thing that we need at the moment is going to be a way to transition state to state, right? If you recall, a state machine is a way of transitioning from state to state. So we'll do that by first creating the function transition2. Now you can name this whatever you want, but I'm going to name it transition2. And this is basically going to pass through the name of the state that we're trying to go to. So it's a string. Now, first, we need to find that state. Now, again, I'm going to do this where I basically take the new state, create a new state, and it's going to take the state name that we took and take it to lowercase capital. So if I typed in, for example, to transition to, and I typed in idle state like that, you can see that the T here is capital. It'll basically take it to be idle state like so. This way, it's comparing lowercase stuff to other lowercase stuff. This way, we're not being inconsistent with our code. The next thing is to make sure that this state actually exists. And if it doesn't, we'll return. So if the new state doesn't exist, or if it's already equal to the current state, then we're just going to return. We're not going to transition anything. That's it. Now, if it does exist, that's where we do stuff. So the first thing we do is we want to exit out of our current state. Now, this is actually important. The order that we do this, if you think about it, we want to exit the state that we're in first, and then enter the new state. Now, we'll do that by saying current state.exit, because that current state has the exit function that we created just a minute ago. After that, that's when we can enter the new state. Now, I want you to pause the video and give it a try yourself. Think about, hey, how can we enter the new state? Well, first of all, we haven't created or added the current state. We haven't updated the current state. So first, we need to set the current state equal to new state, and then we will say current state.enter. Okay, and that's it. This is the transition2 function that will work for us. Now that we have the foundation set up, let's take a look